Right, welcome back, everyone. Welcome to the Strength Podcast. Today we have Lewis Byng, very, very talented young athlete. He has deadlifted 411 kilos, which is the world record for the under 23s, and he's completely natural as well, which is absolutely unbelievable. He's done many other amazing feats of strength. Lewis, if you don't mind just giving us a quick brief of the things you've achieved, mate.
Like you said, I did the deadlift world record in July, 411 kilo. A year prior, I did the British record when I was 19, 371 kilo. And then that's kind of my strongman kind of resume so far. In shot put, I've got the British under 20 record. I've got over 10 national titles in shot put, and I'm a two-time European finalist in shot put.
Yeah, that's one hell of an impressive CV, mate. So what is let's just jump straight into the first question everyone wants to know. What is the ultimate goal? Is it to be the world's strongest man? Like, what is the ultimate goal for you, the final destination?
Yeah, it's most definitely the world's strongest man title. That's my goal. That's what I'm working towards. Everything I do now has a reason, and the reason is to hopefully impact and help my journey towards that title over the course of 5-6 years kind of thing. And what I'm trying to do nowadays is not do something which will hinder it, or not do something which won't help that goal.
Yeah, that's understandable, mate. Very understandable. And you're obviously a natural athlete. You've never used any gear, which a lot of people would be questioning that, which we can both understand because the weights that you're lifting at your age is just unbelievable. But it's just so impressive that you're doing that at a natural level as well. What would be your advice to youngsters wanting to come up and sort of gain strength in the gym? What would be your number one piece of advice?
I'd say set your goals properly. So set your short, medium, and long term goals so that when you hit a short term goal, then you've got your medium term goal to hit. And then when you hit the medium term goal, you've got a long term goal. Because what people would do is they'll get like a long term goal, and it'll take them much longer than they think to get there because they didn't hit the small, nitty gritty goals in between. Then their motivation or discipline just kind of goes rather than just sticking it out because they didn't do it properly with like the goal setting.
Yeah, definitely, mate. I think it's very valuable it's very important to instead of just looking at the long-term goals, to set short-term goals leading up to that ultimate long-term goal. It keeps you going, it keeps you achieving things, and it keeps you wanting to progress on that journey. You're always learning. So instead of obviously just setting a big long-term goal, it's better to have short-term goals leading up to that ultimate goal. So let's bring it back to the start to you, mate. What age did you start doing shot put? Because obviously you've got a lot of British titles in that as well. So what age did you start doing that?
So I started athletics in general when I was 9 years old. And then I started shot put specifically when I was about 11. But at that point, I was doing all the events. I was doing the sprints, the jumps, the throws. I didn't really like specialize in the shot put and javelin until like I was about 15. And then when I was 17, I stopped the javelin because it was just it's a very dangerous kind of thing with your arm, and especially when you gain strength and whatnot. It's like the most probably dangerous throwing event there is. And then I just specialized in shot put. And then from 2017 till 2022, I've won quite a lot of titles. I honestly can't tell you them all off the top of my head because when you're younger and you're like under 17s and that, there's quite a lot of different national titles you can get. So yeah, I got like when I was like 15, 16, 17. And then as I got older, there's just like one or two a year if there's an indoor and outdoor title, really.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, mate. So what age was it that you decided to get into strongman? Like, because obviously you've always been a strong athlete. You've always had, obviously great genetics. Like your height, 6'6". Am I right in saying that?
6'5".
6'5". So obviously you got the height for strongman. You got the build. What age did you start strongman? What age did you realize this is what you wanted to do?
So in May 2021, this was I think just after maybe the third lockdown. But during the third lockdown, I bought loads of equipment online. I bought like a log press and an axle bar. Even though at this point I wasn't doing any strongman, I just wanted to try it. So I was like, I got a bit of money spare. I'll buy some different equipment because at that point I was renting like plates from my gym, and I thought I'd just switch it up. And then in May 2021, I entered the UK Strongest Junior. About a week and a half, 2 weeks before. Well, I think I got like a few days before deadline, and then yeah, I think I did really well. I came fifth. I did the most events I'd never done before, like a keg run, or I did a bit of log press, but I was terrible at it. And then I obviously never pulled a truck, but the truck pull was actually probably the most fun event I've ever done, because like it's just really aesthetically pleasing and also just fun to do. But yeah, I think it was probably 2021 May, and then after I did the British deadlift record in June 2021, I thought, yeah, this is something I want to really pursue. So then when it came to like September time, when winter came for like winter's training and the off season, with my new coach, I started just pursuing strongman properly and didn't really do much throwing, to be fair.
Yeah, that's good, mate. That's good. That's you've obviously achieved a lot at such a young age. Very impressive. But I'm interested to know, what was your training program? What did it look like leading up to that 411 kilo deadlift?
So pretty much all the training I was doing was for the deadlift. So there wasn't really like, I was trying to like minimize fatigue, like neural and physical, from like, for example, squats or like a heavy log press. So I was still doing like lighter squats and like lighter log, but it wasn't anything to do with that. But I think I did an 8-week prep. It was it started off at like 345 for 4, and the first week, then 350 for 4, 355 for 3, 363 for 3, 380 for 2 singles. Then I did a deload week with like 336 for a single. They did some speed ballistic work, and then did the deadlift. So to be honest, it was just linear progression. It was just literally like a bit heavier weight each week, a bit less reps, but literally just one top set. And then obviously there was accessory work like your rows, your RDLs, your lat pull downs, that kind of stuff. But it was just simple stuff for the peak. But like I kind of peak quite well, and like I don't need a lot of stimuli to kind of progress. So we knew that that one top set would be enough. And also I was informed for the 411 before the prep, but I just needed to make sure when I came to do the 411 on comp day that I was in good form. And like I said, I'm pretty confident that on comp day I could have done like 420 if I didn't hit the 411. Like if I did like different jumps, but the only goal was to break the world record for the first time and just do it by a kilo. So that's all I did.
Yeah, that's good, man. That's good. And obviously now you've decided to drop some weight. Obviously, you've lost a considerable amount of weight already in the last 20 weeks. What was it that made you want to make that weight cut, mate?
So the plan, well, the main thing was I got really heavy for the deadlift world record, and I don't think I got, at the time when I was 160 kilograms on July 2nd, I think I needed to be that heavy for that comp for that day. Yeah. But I'm pretty confident that nowadays that when I lose the weight, so what I've done, obviously I've cut 27, 28 kilo, but apart from my deadlift, I haven't really deadlifted heavy properly because there's no real need to at the moment. All my lifts are still the same or more. Like I've hit an axle press PB, my grip's stronger, I'm squatting more. It was mainly just for like health, but also to get a good base to start on. So the plan is like to get to 127 kilo by end of the year. And then that would mean that when I start prep for Europe's Strongest Under 23, which is the end of Feb, so about 7-8 weeks, I can then lean bulk to like low 130s. And then, because the thing is, Europe's Strongest Under 23, it's all max events, and it's a bit weird. It's all max events and like a yoke run, which I'm fine with. But the thing is, with me, like with an axle press or a monster dumbbell, it's very like explosive base for me. So I'm really pressing, but I'm really good at using my legs.
Yeah, definitely.
So
I think as well. Yeah, I think as well, it's a good thing that you've backed off as well, because, you know, if we're being real, you've done a lot at a young age. You've lifted incredible weights, you know, weights that most people would call impossible. So you've done that at such a young age. I think if you were to keep going like that, who knows what will happen? Maybe you'd get a bad injury, maybe you burn out and maybe not be able to progress as much anymore. So I think it's good that you've taken a step back as well and obviously focus on your health. I think that's a very wise decision. So you talked about Europe's Strongest Man. What is your goal for Europe's Strongest? Because obviously it's how old are you now? 20 or 21?
21 now.
So you've still got a few years in it anyway. So what's your aim for Europe's Strongest Man for the under-23s? What's your aim? Is it aim to win or podium? What's the goal?
Yeah, so my only aim there is to win. All the training and the prep I do will be to win. It's not. I don't want to go there and come fourth or third or second. Like, the events are pretty good for me, and I honestly think I'm the favourite. So I need to make sure that in my head I think I'm the favourite. I need to make myself the favourite on the day. So I need to make sure my prep's sorted, my nutrition's good, my sleep's good. But whenever I start a prep for anything, no matter if it's shot put or strongman, like a bit like Tom Stoltman, when he starts his World Strongest Man prep and he wins, it's because he's like got tunnel vision. He's got no other thoughts in his head. Like, when I start a prep, it's like that's what it is. I was a bit annoyed with myself at the UK Strongest Junior. I messed up the farmers quite badly, but it was my first comp I properly prepped for, so I just use it as like a learning experience. And with that now, I'll take it into Europe's Strongest Man prep and resurrect some of the stuff that I did wrong.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely key. Is making mistakes in in any competition, because we all make mistakes. We all have lessons from different competitions, and in the time it seems like the worst thing ever that you've made a mistake and you fucked up, but then you go into the next competition and you're like, right, I'm not going to do that this time, and then you end up being a better athlete. So I think mistakes have to happen anyway in order to improve. You talked about Tom Stoltman there. Obviously, you and Tom Stoltman are very similar in the fact that you use autism as sort of like a superpower. Talk to me about that, mate.
Yeah, so best way I can describe it is, with autism, there's not a lot of thoughts going on in your head, but there's a lot of thoughts that go on in your head, but not a lot of thoughts that don't matter. So kind of when I'm thinking about something or thinking about doing something, that's all I really care about. Like, I can wake up, go to work, do all the stuff, but like my brain 24/7 is just thinking about, like, I don't know, my next deadlift session or my next axle press session. Like, I'll be driving, and next thing I know, my destination, and all I thought about the whole way was literally deadlifting or pressing a dumbbell. And with the autism, what you get is you get like tunnel vision. That's what they call it, and literally there's like zero doubt for the whole prep. Obviously, you do get a little bit where you have a bad session, all that. But I think with my autism, with like Tom's autism, when you have a bad session and you go home and you think about it, you're like, you know what? It was a bad session, but that was a really good session compared to like what a bad session was a year ago. And like you kind of process it really well. But I know that quite a lot of people, they'll have a bad session and think, oh shit, this is the end of the prep, this is the end of the world. But like, we got to think about it like in the previous history. Like, your bad sessions now would be an absolutely brilliant session a year ago. So
yeah. That's a good way to think, actually. I really like that. But yeah, have you has there been sort of people bullying you and picking on you in your childhood because of having autism?
Yeah, so I didn't really have much of a high school life, so I couldn't really fit and socialize and kind of live in a mainstream school. So when I started high school, year 7, it was okay. Year 8 started to get a bit crap. And then I literally wasn't in school for year 9 and year 10. I got written off because I was like depressed and just couldn't cope, and I was getting like physically and like mentally bullied by men out, like lads and girls. Like, I was getting hit by people, and the thing is, even though I was a big guy, I'm still a soft guy now. But like, if like someone hit me at school, my brain would be like, okay, if I hit them back now, then I'll get expelled and it'll be on my fault. So I never really retaliated, and I'm glad I didn't, because I think that kind of brought me into the person I am today. Yeah. And yeah, I ended up going to a really, really private school called Northfleet, which is based like one-on-one, two-on-one learning with the teacher to do my GCSEs. And then after that, I went to college and I did really well. And yeah, like, I think Northfleet House School, which is the school I went to after year 10 to do my GCSEs, that was an absolute godsend. If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't probably be doing the sport I am now, or be in the intellectual level I am now, or anything. Literally, I'd probably still be in a really crap space.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, when you're going through tough times, it's very tough. It's not exactly nice being picked on. And at the time, it seems like there's no escape from it. And then, you sort of you grow up a bit and you start getting into a sport, and then you start looking back at those times and you're like, right, that's going to fuel me for this bad session. You know, I'm feeling shit today, I'm feeling tired, but I'm going to think of the people that have picked on me. I'm going to think of the tough times in the past, and I'm going to use it as fuel. And it's sort of like there's like an aggression that builds up, and it like fucking pushes you through the session. I think it's absolutely great. You know, obviously tough times, they're not nice, but I always say they always teach you and they always make you stronger. So would you say that is in, you know, as you said there about people picking on you when you was in school, is that something that's in the back of your mind before you do a big lift?
Well, when it comes to people that picks on me, most of them are like, because I'm doing well for myself now, most of them are like really nice to me in that, on like social media or in person. Whereas like 4 or 5 years ago, they were absolute dickheads. But like nowadays, it's kind of, when I'm in a session, I don't know, I don't really listen to music when I lift, because when I record my stuff, because my phone's terrible, I can't record and listen to music. So most of the time, it's just literally me thinking about stuff. So I don't technically think about like my school life. I just literally think about my cues, really. Like I try and minimize thoughts when I'm lifting, because a bit like when I deadlift, I literally, my only cue is strap, when I'm in a suit, get strap on and pull. Whereas with like an axle press, it's for example, high clean to the belly, flick, foot spread, then press, kind of thing. Like I try not to overthink, but like in a deadlift, yeah, I can get really, really, really hyped up, and it really does help. But like with most of the other events, it doesn't really help me, because I need to be able to think clearly.
Yeah, I think I'm exactly the same. I mean, I can get super hyped up for a deadlift, but then when it comes to like a log press or something, if I hype myself up too much, I usually sort of like either go off balance or make a mistake or something like that. Whereas a deadlift, I know it's, you know, there's obviously a technique to deadlifting, but you know, if you really think of it, you're just fucking ripping it off the floor. Whereas a log press, you've got to think of so many different things. So let's bring it back to UK Strongest Man this year. What were the mistakes that you made in that competition that you will then obviously learn from and do better for next year?
So for me, the log press and the deadlift went really well. I was really happy with them. The issue with farmers was I was training on really, really nice pair of farmers. So when it came to the comp, when the farmers were slightly thicker, more a bit sharper, and like not so like best for the business kind of thing, not really, really good farmers, I wasn't used to it. So one thing I do for that now is I make sure I train on different farmers. Like I do fat reps on the farmers, that kind of stuff. So I'm used to different like diameters and that kind of stuff, because I think it was mainly just because it was just a thicker handle, and I was used to training on a really, really thin handle, so it kind of just put me off. And then the medley was fine, except I just fell over. I was running back with the anchor, and I was going a bit too quick, and I fell over. But then the vehicle moved really well. The stones, the only thing I do for stones is actually I need to get some different tacky for like that kind of weather, because I think I had warm weather tacky and it was absolutely freezing that day. So I was actually just had like clumps of solid tacky on me. So I think after the second stone, I was just bare arming it. But yeah, it was mainly the farmers, but like my grip's it was really good before the comp. It was just not good for those farmers. So I need to get used to all the different variations, because with strongman, you never know what piece of equipment you're using. It could be a stiff bar, an axle bar, a deadlift bar. It could be a big 150 kilo stone or a really small 150 kilo stone. So you need to like just mentally prepare as well as physically prepare for all the different variations and like possibilities.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the thing, you know, a lot of people love about strongman is that there's so many different events, and you know, even if you train all those events leading up to a competition, sometimes you get into the competition and that piece of equipment is just completely different to what you've been training on, and it just throws you off and like fuck. So I think strongman is really the ultimate test of strength, because you just have to be good at everything on every piece of equipment possible. And you know, as you said there, little mistakes like that, what you made, can cost you the whole competition. Literally one mistake can cost you a competition when you're up against such high level athletes. You know, you got Max, Jack, and then I forget the guy who won it.
Joe Oliver.
That's the one, yeah. I mean, you know, I'd never heard of him until he won that UK. Was it UK? It was UK Strongest Man, right? Yeah. I'd never heard of him until he won that, and then it's like fucking hell, incredible athlete, the things he's lifting, you know, and obviously Max and Jack are just insane athletes as well, and yourself. And you know, when you make a mistake like that, those other guys are gonna fucking take advantage of that, and they're gonna be like fucking boom. you know?
Yeah.
So you can't afford to make any mistakes. It's such a high level that like one mistake can just fuck everything up. But obviously now you've learned those lessons going into Europe's Strongest Man next year, so it should be a different story. What are the events for Europe's next year?
So the first event's a max axle clean and press. Then it's a max axle deadlift raw. So I think they're also that event, the deadlift's going to be the European under 23 deadlift champs, they're calling it as well. So like all the Europe's strongest men, it's going to be like a second title, so that they don't have to like come down to Scotland for a second time.
Yeah.
Max dumbbell, max stone, and 300 kilogram yoke for 25 meters for like time. So it's a very like I think they're trying to make it like a very much like an Arnold kind of comp, like a very very heavy comp.
Very heavy comp, yeah.
But like with it, I'm trying to just make sure that. So for me, my main concerns are dumbbell because I know I can actually press like I can literally have like tonsillitis and press 145 kind of thing. Deadlifts are like my thing. Like, obviously, I'm not going to take any of these for granted. I want to make sure I prep for them really well. But dumbbell, I'm so inconsistent at. Like I can't. Like, when I'm here holding it, I can either press 100 kilo one day or I can't press 85. It just depends on like my stability and my mobility kind of thing and how much I sweat. Because when you sweat loads, it's on your neck, it just slides. So I'm just trying to work out different things for that. So trying to find out a new rack position to make it stable. But yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, definitely. I think it's, as I said, there's so many different things you focus on. You know, I think obviously powerlifting is it's a great sport. It's very impressive. But when you think of strongman, there's like hundreds of different events. There's hundreds of different things that you have to be good at. It is the overall test of strength. Is World's Strongest Man under 23s, is that next year as well? Because I've never heard of them do. I don't think they did that this year, did they? Are they doing that? Is that next year?
Yeah, so it's right. It's literally still got like 11 months. It's November in
Right,
2023. Okay. The events have been released. It's pretty similar to Euros. They're a bit different. So it's a max log, max 18-inch axle deadlift. Then the two events the same are the stone and dumbbell for max. Then it's a Thor's hammer hold, obviously. Things like 20 kilo Thor's hammer holds like that. So again, like until like September, I'm just going to gauge it out because there's still athletes being invited. There's still a year for the events to be changed, kind of thing. So, just going to play by ear. But like, I've got a very busy 2023. Like, I've got Europe's Strongest Man. I've got potentially European shot put champs. I've got the World's Strongest Man. So I've got 3 internationals and 2 different sports, kind of thing. So it's going to be busy.
A couple of high level competitions there. What's your goals in shot put going forward then? Because obviously your main focus, as you've said, is World's Strongest Man, or your main goals are in strongman. Do you also have big goals in shot put as well?
Yeah, so in 2023, my main 2 goals are to make the European athletics team for the 23s, which is in Finland. Then also break Jeff Cape's British record, which has been around for 53. It'll be 52 years at this point, so under 23, and no one's beaten it. No one's smashed it yet. My plan is to try and beat that, and then like cement my name in like the athletics kind of thing. Because after I break that, I'll have the under 20, under 23, and then with 2024. If I do break the British record in 2023, I'll try and get to the Olympics in 2024. So in that year, I'll kind of be like, I'll do the strongman, but I want one good go to the Olympics because obviously with the Olympics, it's a big thing, obviously, and I need focus for it. But if I don't throw what I want to throw next year, then I'll just probably have a big talk with my coach whether or not to continue with the shot put. Because if I'm not making the Olympics in 2024, then for me, there's no reason to do it because I've got like no other desire. Because all my desires for shot put were the European Championships and that kind of stuff, and I don't really care about the senior ranks unless it's the Olympics. So yeah, I'll know by I'll know by probably next August if I'm going to be capable of prepping to get to the Olympics in 2024.
Yeah. So how many days a week are you training strongman, and then how many days a week are you training shot put right now?
So at the moment, it's mainly a strongman because I had a finger injury in July at the shot put champs, and I went and got went to the doctor's. Well, I went to get an injection in yesterday, like a cortisone injection, and that takes 10 days to work properly. So I've got to no throwing for 10 days. But to be honest, it's mainly just like I'll do strongman 5 days a week, but also with that, it's I do some cardio stuff, so like rowing or incline walking or some boxing. At the moment, I haven't really done much throwing this season, but that's another reason I've put the weight, because I did one throwing session about 2 weeks ago, and I was throwing so far, even though I hadn't thrown for like 2 months properly, because I'm just fitter and stronger, and more, like when you're more mobile, you like just everything's better. And yeah, we'll start the shot put again on December 17th when the 10 days is up for the hand. But then, yeah, I've got actually the British shot put champs indoors a week before Europe's Strongest Man indoors. So yeah, that's going to be a busy 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's going to be busy, mate. Yeah. And just quickly, for anyone wondering, what are your current PBs in shot put and in strongman? So you've got the deadlift, the log press, squat, bench. What bench is not in strongman, but what's your PBs on all these different lifts, and obviously your shot put as well?
So in strongman, I've done a 411 kilo deadlift. I've done a 311 kilo safety bar squat, 166 kilo log press, 161 kilo axle, bench of, I think that's 160. Dumbbell I've done 100, but yeah, they're kind of the main ones. Like kind of you really max out. I never on stone. I've never gone heavier than 160. But I've never needed to. But I probably hit 160 for like 3 or 4, 5 singles in prep. But yeah, with stones I want to be careful because of biceps and that kind of stuff. But
Yeah, cool.
and then shot put. Throwing 20 meters 26 with the 6 kilo and 18 meters 56 with this 7.26 kilo. So that's the senior rank shot put.
Yes, I mean, very impressive numbers there, mate, I must say. And just one quick question before we wrap up the episode, and that is, for any youngsters going through a tough time who also have autism, what would be your advice to them?
The two things I'd say is, like, tough times don't last, tough people do. I like that quote quite a lot. It's you could be going for a tough spot, or with school or with your sport or with your family, but most of the time, like 99% of the time, within a week or 2 weeks, you kind of be out of that rut or you'll forget about it. So like, it's just perseverance. Like if you are in a bit of a shit spot, think about how you're going to feel when you're out of the spot. Think about in like 2-3 weeks time when you're back, I don't know, doing your sport or at school with your friends or like playing football kind of thing. Like always think about the future and try not to live in the moment, but when you're in a shit spot, just kind of don't stress too much.
Yeah, definitely. I think, I always say there's always tough times to come and there's always good times to come. I think we need both of them, really. And whenever you're going through a tough time, it is temporary. There's always going to be something that comes and takes its place, and then you look back and that problem's gone, and there's something else that's come. And so, you just have to keep moving forward. But Lewis, mate, it's been a pleasure having you on. It's been a pleasure talking about your story. I think it'd be very valuable for a lot of people listening. And honestly, mate, I do believe that you have a massive future ahead of you in strongman. If you keep the way you're going, the way you're going, and you're sensible, you train, I think you have a massive future ahead of you, mate.
Thanks, dude. I really appreciate you letting me come on the podcast. I really enjoyed it.
Been a pleasure, mate. Have a good day, boss, and I will speak to you soon.
Thanks. See you in a bit, dude.
Thanks, mate.